Hey there crafters, it's Louise with you today. Welcome along to my channel, and by popular demand I have created another layout featuring the Simple Stories Vintage Love Story collection. It is not a 3 old and 3 new today. I am simply having a play around with this collection. It was just too pretty not to create with, and after the lovely comments on my YouTube about this particular collection, I thought I'd pull it out and give it another round. This is actually a really old photo. My husband and I were married in 2010, and I have been going through our wedding photos and making a repeat of them in 9x12. So I have a 12x12 album that I created when we first got married, but I thoroughly enjoy scrapbooking some older photos with some newer collections and just having different versions of different memories. So I'm starting with a 9x12 white cardstock background, and I am just making these 2 photo clusters. So I didn't particularly have a grid layout in mind, but I felt that the shape of the photo that I chose really lent itself to creating this sort of side-by-side upper section of my layout. Now, the other thing that people said they really enjoyed from my last Simple Stories video was the strip and cluster at the bottom of the page. So I thought, well, if people are enjoying that, and I did myself too, I really enjoyed creating that little bottom cluster, I thought, let's go ahead and have another crack at it. So using different versions of the paper, but a very similar process, and giving you another look at just how gorgeous the elements are in this particular collection. So I've got a fairly good idea at this point how this layout's going to go with the side-by-side photos and the bottom cluster. Off camera, I'm going to go ahead and mount some of that up just with some foam tape, and where I have laid out all those bits and pieces, I'm actually going to add some adhesive in the background. Now, I did tear another red strip just to bring my bottom part of my layout into that red sort of zone with the upper section. So the colours weren't quite coordinating, and I needed just to bring that together a little bit. And as you can see, halfway through this layout, my ATG gun decided that it was going to run out, and I don't have any more spares. So onto the shopping list they go. And I need to pick up some more refills. So the bottom cluster is now at a stage where I'm happy to stick it down. Now, you'll probably notice that when I stick stuff down, I'm not using adhesive in all places on the background. Now, there is a reason for this, and it's not because I don't want to waste adhesive or anything like that. It is because sometimes I find that I actually want to tuck more embellishments around those layers, or later on in this video you'll see where I add just a small amount of a mixed media element to this particular collection. But essentially what I do is I create the layout, stick it down with enough space that I can move things around or add or pop mixed media behind it later on. And then once I'm completely finished a layout, I will go ahead and just add a little bit of tacky glue and make sure that everything is properly stuck down. So that's my process. It's not for everyone, and I don't necessarily expect that that will work for some people. Some people are just amazing at building these clusters and layouts without having to think about it like I do. I tend to be a bit of probably an overthinker, but it is my process, and that's how I create, so I'm going to go with it. So this is a Vicky Bouton watercolour, and the sort of gold wasn't quite what I wanted, but by this point I was committed to the layout and I had to roll with it. This is sort of quite a browny gold. I don't know what I'd call it. It's not the traditional gold. It's more of a, I call it a brown. I don't know what the color is, but it's, I think it makes a nice contrast. It kind of blends really well with the reds of the collection, but it was definitely not what I initially thought I was going to put in terms of the color. Now that I've incorporated that little bit of brown brown gold. I need to somehow blend that, and I'm going to do that with a border, but first of all I'm just going to add a little bit of splatter. So once I bring that watercolor element in, the splatter just helps tie it to that white background and the elements of the collection. So a little bit of splatter, and then the final step is I'm just going to pull out a distress ink, and I choose again a browny sort of color, but I don't want it to look like it's brown because I don't want to detract from the gorgeous colors of the collection. So I'm just going to simply add a little border, a little bit of distressing around the outside, and I think it really finishes the layout. It just seals it all. You can see that it coordinates really well with the collection and the colors that I've chosen. So that's my share with the Simple Stories Vintage Love Story collection. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching.